My name's Rosemary Dixon, and I'm on the steering committee of Prescott Indivisible, and I cannot tell you how happy we are to see everyone in human, real life today. So tonight we are really grateful and really lucky to have Senator Martín Quesada, and Maria Lynham is going to introduce him for us.
And it's a pleasure to have Martín Quesada, who's Senator Martín Quesada, who is the Democratic candidate for State Treasurer here tonight. So, Martín, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Maria. And if you guys haven't tried this iced tea, it is excellent. Like I've been downing it because it's so good. But thank you guys for having me out here this evening. It's great to be with a crowd of Indivisible, because I'm a big supporter of the whole Indivisible group and formation, and I've been a member of Indivisible groups down in my hometown in Maricopa County, so I really appreciate the work that you all do. My name's Martín Quesada. I have the privilege and the honor of serving the people of West Phoenix and Glendale in what is now Legislative District 29 as their state senator. I also serve the people of Phoenix, Avondale, and Glendale on the Pendergast Elementary School District Governing Board as a school board member. And I give that intro pretty much all the time for a couple reasons. One, it calms me down because I get nervous talking in front of people. But two, it reminds me that I'm here in those roles on behalf of the people that I serve. And it's them first that should come in my mind and in all the actions that I take when I'm operating in those positions. So I've served in the Senate now for the last 8 years. I served in the House for 3 years before that, and I've been on the school board for 12 years. So I've been doing this a long time. What I can tell you is that in the last 10 years in the legislature, all of the biggest and the most important issues that our legislature has dealt with, and it could be everything from criminal justice reform to health care, to our protecting our right to vote, protecting a woman's right to choose, fighting against discrimination, fighting for clean air and clean water. Whatever that biggest issue has been, I have been put at the front of that fight by my caucus and by my colleagues in the Senate. They've appreciated and they've respected and they've trusted the fight that I give in those debates. And so if you haven't seen, I would say definitely look me up and see the kinds of fights that I've been engaged in over the last decade, because I feel very confident about my track record and my voting record, and for the values that I've represented for you all, because that's what I try to do. I try to represent your values. And so what I noticed after 10 years in the legislature was that even though I fought all of those fights, we haven't made a whole lot of progress on a lot of them. We've stopped a few bad things, but we haven't advanced forward on a whole lot. And what I realized was the only way we can ever really advance on a lot of those issues, unfortunately, is because of money. You're going to need money. And the way that you have that money is first, you have to have the solid management and investment of our taxpayer dollars. And so who does that? Our state treasurer does that. The state treasurer's job is to manage and invest and protect our state's taxpayer dollars. So I'm running for state treasurer. I got asked to run, I decided to run, and so I'm here before you talking as your state treasurer candidate. Now I'm not naive. I know that a lot of people didn't get up excited this morning and think, I'm going to hear the state treasurer candidate talk. You know, I know that your kids and your grandkids at home aren't telling you, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, I want to be a state treasurer when I grow up. I know that there's not a lot of Netflix shows or Hulu TV shows about the wild and crazy adventures that state treasurers get into, right? It's not an exciting post, really. And I would ask you, what's the last really good thing you've heard that your state treasurer did here in Arizona? No? Can anyone think of the last bad thing that their state treasurer did in Arizona? Can anybody think of anything their treasurer has done in the state? No, right?
How about mismanagement of state retirement funds?
Well, the treasurer actually doesn't manage the retirement funds. It's a separate board, but it's aligning with my point here. The point is that nobody knows what the treasurer does, and that's a bad thing. Because the reason that nobody knows what the treasurer does is because our treasurers aren't doing anything in that office. Our treasurers up to this point for the last several cycles have been using this office for a parking place and as a stepping stone to run for governor, right? Doug Ducey was a state treasurer. He was using that as a stepping stone. Kimberly Yee's our current state treasurer. She was running for governor the day after she got elected. Jeff DeWitt was a treasurer before Ms. Yee. He used that as a platform to get into the Trump administration. Everyone has used this for their own personal advancement and not for the use and the proper use of the office of the state treasurer. If they had been using this office effectively and responsibly, there would have been a lot that you would know about the treasurer's office. There would have been a lot that you could applaud that the treasurer's office was doing. There would be a lot that they could campaign on to run for re-election as state treasurer. Right now, there's not. And so you're not going to hear a lot from them about what they've done in the treasurer's office. So I also know that nobody knows what, no one knows what the treasurer's job really is, right? So I'm going to break it down for you so you all know. The treasurer has 3 basic roles. Number 1, you're the chief banker of the state of Arizona. That means when you pay taxes, you expect that money to go where you want it to go, right? If you want your taxes to pay for investing in our schools, giving teachers higher salaries, if you want your taxes to build roads and highways and build our infrastructure, if you want your taxes to pay for hospitals and pay for the doctors and nurses out there, you want your money to go where it's supposed to go. The treasurer does that as a chief banker. After the Department of Revenue collects that money, the treasurer then directs it to where it's supposed to go with the partnership of the Department of Revenue. So that part's easy, right? Being a chief banker, there's nothing too exciting about that. The second role, so number 1, you're the chief banker. The second role, you're the chief investment officer of the state of Arizona. What does that mean? The treasurer has the authority and the trust of the state of Arizona to invest over $50 billion of state taxpayer money. That means that I am protecting that money. I get to invest it and bring more money in. I get to use your taxpayer money that you've already paid and make it work for you so that we can bring more money in, so that we can create a more solid foundation for the state of Arizona, so that we can weather the ups and downs of our economy, right? So that's important because for a couple of reasons. One is we could be using that office to invest in a more wise way. We could be investing in the future. We could be looking 10 years down the road to plan for things that might occur in our economy, in our state and in our nation, things that would affect the economy, things that would affect the state's budget. We could better plan for those and develop an investment portfolio that reflects that plan. Had we had that type of a plan, we could have better weathered things like the COVID pandemic, right? We didn't plan at all for that at all in the treasurer's office. And we didn't develop an investment portfolio that looked 10 years, 20 years into the future to plan for things like that. They're only looking at the next year or the next election cycle. We need to be looking long term. So even more exciting than that is, what are we investing in? Guess what 2 of the biggest investments that the state treasurer has, the state of Arizona has right now? Can anyone think what those might be?
I'm afraid it's fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels is a big one. Oil, someone said oil is, yeah, fossil fuels, oil, gun manufacturers is a big one. We have over $1 billion invested in Facebook and Amazon, right? So imagine if we weren't investing in fossil fuels and instead I was using your money to reflect your values, and instead I was investing in clean energy, right? Not only are you getting a better return on that investment, because when you invest with a conscience, when you invest based on the people's values, you actually make more money than if you're investing in fossil fuels. You actually make more money if you're not investing in gun manufacturers, because they get sued all the time. Their stocks go up and down like crazy. You actually, when you invest based with a conscience and based on protecting our environment, protecting our society, protecting the governance of our state, you actually get a better return on that investment. You make more money for the state of Arizona.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
Does the state treasurer make that decision, or does it come from above saying you will invest on those things?
Great question. Does the state treasurer make that decision themselves, or do they have someone telling them what to do? So there's 2 ways to answer that question. The first way, the state legislature sets the boundaries for what you can invest in. There are laws that the state legislature created that tells us what we can and cannot invest in. But within those boundaries, the treasurer has broad authority. There's a lot of flexibility. So there's a lot that the treasurer can invest in, and there's a lot of decisions, strategic decisions, the treasurer can make in order to direct that money. Those guardrails are pretty wide. And so there's a lot of authority. The treasurer doesn't make that decision alone though. He or she works with a board of investment. There are 5 people on that board, and that board creates your investment portfolio. Like I said, there's 5 people, right? Guess who puts those people on that board? The governor puts 2 of them on the board. The treasurer is the 3rd, and the treasurer appoints the other 2. So effectively, the treasurer has the majority on that board. Even no matter who the governor is, even if Kerry Lake was the governor, I would, let's hope not, right? But even if she was, I would still have the majority on that board to make the investment decisions that I want to make for the state of Arizona. So that's a great question. The treasurer has a lot of latitude in terms of what that investment portfolio looks like and what we can and can't invest in. So chief banker, chief investment officer. What's the 3rd thing? The chief financial officer. So you guys all know our superintendent of public instruction, right? You all know our attorney general. You all know our secretary of state. Our superintendent, she advocates for good public education policy, right? She's out there all the time talking about what's good for our public schools, what's good for teachers, what's good for students. Our attorney general, like him or not, he advocates for what he believes is good criminal justice policy, what's good in our courts, what's good for our prisons, what are good criminal laws that should be enacted, what are the legal things that are happening in the state. The attorney general speaks out about that. The Secretary of State, she advocates for good elections policies, good voting laws, right? Access to the polls. She does that. What does the treasurer advocate for? Have you heard the treasurer advocate for anything? The treasurer can be advocating for every financial policy in the state of Arizona. Every financial issue that has any impact on our economy, the treasurer could be your chief advocate for good policies that benefit the people of Arizona, benefit our economy, and put us on a more solid, financial, stable ground. That is something that I would do as your state treasurer. Divesting from fossil fuels. There is a process that I would want to use, and this process is under attack right now. It's called ESG investing. And this is that a lot of state treasurers use this philosophy. And it is a very well-respected philosophy amongst both progressive and conservative investors. And what that does is it's exactly what you're saying. They're moving away from energy sources that harm our planet and moving towards energy sources that support our planet. So what I would say first is not necessarily, but here's why. My number 1 priority is bringing back the best return on our investment. I'm going to do what's best for the taxpayer. But number 2, yes, I want to direct our funds toward greener energy. But here's how I win either way. Investing in those sources are a better return on your dollar. So absolutely, I would, but my rationale to our conservative legislature would be, I'm doing what's best for our taxpayer dollars, right? But absolutely, that's what we want to do, and that's what we should do. And that's what the ESG philosophy is all about, and that's why it's under attack by the right wing right now. So yes, so also being an advocate for every financial issue, like I was saying, you're chief financial officer, you're an advocate. So if the state budget is being proposed, if universal vouchers are being proposed, that impacts our economy, that impacts the finances that go to our schools. The treasurer could be speaking out about that. If our governor receives millions and millions of dollars and billions of dollars in ARPA funds and isn't using that money appropriately, the treasurer could be speaking out about that and telling the governor, here's how you should be using that money, right? That's what a treasurer should do. That's what the treasurer will do if I'm in that role. So thank you. So I guess to close up, and then I want to take some questions. But to close up, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for the last 13 years, so I've got the legal knowledge. I know how to create an office of professionals around me. That's what the treasurer does. I've been doing that my whole career, both in the Senate, the staff that we've created there, as a school board member, the staff that I've created there. I know how to bring in professionals that know how to do a good job. I know how to give them the resources they need to do that good job, and then I know how to hold them accountable. That's what I'll do as an attorney. And then I understand the state and the federal regulations that are constantly changing. So I will be able to understand the way our courts are going to interpret all of those laws, so I can make sure that we stay legal with everything we do with our money as an attorney. As a legislator, with my experience there, I've got the experience of knowing how to manage politics. I know how to manage the political needs of the legislature while balancing the needs, the governance needs of our state, right? I know how to balance those two things. And lastly, as a member of our community, I know what our values are. I share your values, and I can bring that to our investment portfolio. I can ensure that our investments reflect those values so that your money is working for you. So guys, that's it. I hope that I can earn your support. I would love to take any questions, and I hope that you guys will go home tonight and you will tell your kids and grandkids, you should think about being a state treasurer, right? Because it's more exciting than we thought it was, right? But thank you guys, and I'd love to take some questions.